Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Easing Stress in Veterinary Practices and How Technology Can Help. My name's Claire and I'm the Account Manager for Vetstoria in APAC. I work closely with our clients in the region, helping them with their use of the platform. And pleased to have Amy from Petmania joining us on the call today. Amy is a registered vet nurse and Compliance and Development Manager at Petmania Vet Surgery. Amy, pleasure to have you here today. Thanks so much for your time. If you'd like to perhaps share a little bit about your background and your experience in clinic for those on the webinar with us today.
Perfect. Thanks, Claire. I am a vet nurse. My background prior to being in the veterinary industry is in marketing and I guess brands as well. So I come in with a background that's very heavy on a customer experience basis. And I think that's my appeal of Vetstoria, is experiencing that from a client angle and also for the colleagues as well. So I bring that experience to the veterinary industry, as well as the practical side of 12 years of nursing as well.
Great. Thanks so much, Amy. Appreciate that. So in today's webinar, Amy and I will be focusing on key stresses in clinic and discussing how technology can help ease some of those. We will have time for some Q&A at the end of the session, so do feel free to drop any questions that you might have into the chat, and we'll look to spend some time answering those at the end of our webinar. So I thought it might be helpful just to start with an overview of Vetstoria. So Vetstoria is actually founded by two vets. We call them the two Julians, Julien Renard, Julien Ploublanc. They essentially were working in practice and noticed, I guess, that high level of stress associated with day-to-day tasks in clinic, very much on that online booking, very much on the appointment booking side of things, and looked at how they could potentially look to alleviate that for practices. And what they have done is essentially created a really customizable veterinary online booking tool. It works 24 hours behind the scenes, so offering owners the opportunity to book an appointment in their own time. Generally, when clinic is closed, we see probably close to 50% of appointments are booked out of hours. So really taking away some of that heavy lift of the phone calls, returning phone calls, and freeing up the team in clinic to focus on the most important work, which is the pets and their pet owners. So I thought that might be just a good insight to kick off today's webinar, telling you a little bit about Vetstoria, why it was founded, and what our mission is moving forward. So from our experience of working with hundreds of clinics in ANZ and globally, we hear a lot about the stresses that are faced by the teams in clinic. That includes balancing patient care with high workload and admin tasks, managing high call volumes, and that's not just necessarily taking the calls, it's breaking from the tasks that you're doing to take that call, to make the case notes, to make the notes in the system, returning messages, managing and juggling a really busy schedule, and also the client interaction as well. That's some of the feedback that we're hearing from the practices that we work with locally and globally about some of the stresses that they're facing in practice today. Amy, I might throw to you now. It'd be great to hear from you about some of the stresses that your team are seeing in clinic and how it might be impacting their well-being and also their efficiency in clinic.
Yeah, thanks. I definitely agree with that list. And a word I think that we throw around quite a bit when we're talking about it in clinic as well is a bit of entitlement. And it's certainly something that we noticed more so after COVID. But clients are, it feels like they're just that little bit more entitled. They've perused Dr. Google, so they've kind of got their own diagnosis in mind, and we're almost backtracking to convince them that's not the case or the way we do need to do things. And that's certainly a shift I've seen as well in the last 12 years, away from coming with an open mind and curious and can you please help me, to we do find some come in with I think it's probably this, and what are you going to do about it? And that's probably an extreme end of the spectrum, but it really does seem to be something that's quite stressful from the moment they book, and that entitlement being, I've been to your clinic for several years, so I need to be seen today. Which then flows into, great, you got me in for an appointment. I want to see this particular vet today, though, not just today, but this vet today. And then when we get in there, yes, I've decided from a Dr. Google it is this, and I would like these drugs because I've read that that's a good idea, or I asked a Facebook group or something. So there's almost a bit of a mock education happening that we tend to have to spend a lot of time undoing those preconceived ideas. And that can be pretty stressful because it's taking up obviously valuable consultation time. It's undoing a lot of things that people may have thought about their pet. And that can be something as simple as, he's drinking a lot of water, so I've decided he's got heat stroke. No, actually, we've got chronic kidney disease. This didn't happen today. It's probably one of our more recent examples, but those sorts of stresses of almost doing more than just finding the answer, but having to prove why you think that is the answer. I think that's probably one of the toughest things that we're facing at the moment. Obviously, administrative tasks don't come particularly naturally to veterinary professionals. We are very good with our hands
Yes.
at opening up and closing up animals, feeling lumps and bumps, but sitting down at the end of the day and sending all your reminders or those sorts of things aren't our strong point, or we probably wouldn't be in this field. So that in itself can be quite stressful, because it is certainly equally as important to the business, but not necessarily something that comes naturally or something that we want to be doing as much.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, doing those admin tasks when you could be seeing a patient. Yeah, absolutely, and doing what you do best. But yeah, really interesting insight about COVID and post-COVID. We're hearing, I guess, similar experiences from other clinics as well. And I guess that's an increased friction that you might be seeing with a pet owner coming in who, like you said, was already self-diagnosed their pet in a sense. Yeah, and looking at I guess directing the vet as opposed to taking that advice. So yeah, I can imagine the stress that might bring with it too.
Yeah, that's certainly something that has been accentuated in recent years. I'm not sure if it was there all along, but it is something that we're just noticing.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much, Amy. That's really interesting insights. So, as I mentioned, I guess the founders of Vetstoria, their mission, like yourself, having worked in clinic, both vets, they really wanted to be able to take away some of those stresses that they were seeing their clinic team facing. So with the automated appointment scheduling, as I said, it is working in the background seamlessly. So once it's integrated with the PIM system, there really is no involvement, or very minimal involvement needed. It sits in there working in the background 24/7, so your pet owners can go in directly and book at a time that suits them. It will then automatically book directly into your platform too, so it's not requiring the clinic to have to do any double handling of putting it in the PIM schedule. We're hearing from clinics, and hopefully you're finding the same, Amy, there at Petmania, but just those reduced phone calls. Clients know that they can jump online, they can go onto their mobile phone, they can do that at 10 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock in the morning, and they can find a time with a vet at a time that suits them, rather than having to call reception go through their calendar and see when is available. The other really great thing is if they can't make it, things happen. Things come up, and sometimes pet owners need to reschedule. So they can also do that directly through Vetstoria, as opposed to having to make that call. So we're hoping that, with the use of Vetstoria, clinics are seeing that reduced phone call load, the improved client communication. Obviously, that's really important right now, as you're saying, Amy, with perhaps that little bit of a shift in the expectation that a client might have. We can have automated reminders. the appointments can be set so that they're really clear, so there's no misunderstanding when a pet owner comes in about, have I booked for a vaccination, have I booked for a consultation? It's all there in their confirmation of appointment. And as I said, it's really about reducing that admin burden, and really just taking away some of that pressure. We know we're not taking away all of the pressure, but with the use of technology, we're hoping that we can ease some of that for the teams in clinic.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. And I think that's when I got thinking about that for this webinar. I think we initially went into Vetstoria hoping that it would reduce the phone calls a little bit. I think we probably expected maybe up to a quarter. And then when I go through our statistics, which are super readable straight off the dashboard, when we log in, then I can see, you know, this year alone, year to date, we have had around 2,000 bookings on Vetstoria. So 2,000 fewer phone calls, or probably more than that if it was a back and forwards and husband wanted to book a particular time and wife called back and changed it, and those sorts of things, is a pretty huge amount. But the other things that we hadn't kind of thought of benefiting the clinic is, and they're probably fairly small to us, but I think it helps the client experience in a really big way, is things like getting your email and phone number down very accurately, because you yourself have typed it into your system. It's not us jotting it down while juggling something else, which reduces the stresses at our end. Similar thing for unique or difficult spellings of names. Pet owners have some pretty whack pet names these days. And we know that that's exactly how they meant to spell it. It might look like a misspelling to us, but they have entered that correctly themselves. And I think also going into it, we didn't expect so many people to be doing it overnight. That was, so our statistics show that about, I think it's 53% of our bookings are made overnight, which seems pretty crazy to us, but I guess I know myself, I will book the physio appointment overnight or something when you're just lying in bed and remember it. So I guess that is human nature as well. But reducing that stress on the client then, to know that they've sorted that, they can go to bed and it has been sorted just when they remember it. And, you know, if that ailment has gone in the morning, then sure, they can cancel that online as well. They don't have to wait until we're open to be able to do that. So they can plan their day, they can plan the morning off work, whatever that is. Someone mentioned the other day, actually, in consult, that they loved booking online because the reason for their visit itself was quite awkward, and someone's also said that about anal glands, and they don't really know how to describe it, or there's something that they don't know how to pronounce, that they don't feel like ringing up and making a fool of themselves. So being able to just write it in a box has really helped them, which I guess also takes the stress off our team from having to kind of decode those sorts of things that they would say if they had made a phone call instead.
Yeah, trying to read between the lines. If
Yes.
someone isn't confident, yeah, in terms of describing what the ailment might be or what they need to bring their pet in for. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that expectation, like you were saying, Amy, you know, you book your physio online, you know, we book dinner online. So, you know, I guess it's that natural extension. We want to be able to book, you know, those appointments for our pets when we do remember them, when it might be, you know, 6 o'clock in the morning, or at the end of the day. So, yeah, you know, we do see a lot of pet owners taking advantage of that flexibility, also using a mobile device as well. Our region has about 70% of bookings completed on a mobile device. So a lot of people booking on the go, or like you said, when you're going through that mental list at the end of the night and you're just checking off all those things that you need to do, and booking your pet in for their vaccination is one that you can tick off the list when you can go online and book it when you do remember.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So what we're going to do now is just a quick overview of the platform. I just want to spend 5 minutes showing the platform to those that aren't familiar with Vetstoria and how it works. And this is just to show you what it might look like from a pet owner perspective. So Vetstoria will seamlessly embed within your website. So Amy, I know you've got a lot of purple at Petmania. So if anyone's looking on the Petmania website right now, you'll see that the book appointment button is really seamlessly embedded there. So it doesn't, so it looks natural and in place, making use of the branding. We have the online booking widget at the bottom as well, a floating button that follows your pet owner around. So if they may be checking out your services or checking out your blog, then it will take them automatically to the calendar from that button, just making it super easy. As I mentioned, we're a very customizable platform. So you do have the option to create a welcome message should you choose to have that. It could be as simple as welcoming people to your online booking tool. It could be sharing some information around doctor availability. So this is something you can either switch on or switch off. That's fully up to you. And then it will take your pet owner directly to this appointment window. So we have two different flows. We have the new client booking and the returning client. A couple of reasons why it's set up that way for a new client. If they're coming in for their first consult, you might want to set up the appointment. So it's a little bit longer. I'm not sure if you do that there, Amy, at Petmania, where if it's a new pet owner, you might be extending the appointment by 5 minutes just to give some time to get to know the pet and their pet owner. So for the purpose of now, I'm just going to select that one. I'm going to bring in one dog. Again, the species, that's obviously set by you in clinic, depending on what animals you and the vet team cater for. The select appointment type, fully customizable. Again, like you were saying, Amy, clear, short appointment types that make it, I guess, really easy for a pet owner to understand what they are booking in for. So there's no surprise when they come into clinic saying, oh, I thought I booked this. Oh, no, you've booked this. Or, you know, like some of those conversations perhaps around anal glands. Maybe it's a sensitive discussion, it's a euthanasia. So, you know, the pet owner may not want to make that call. So this gives them that flexibility to do that online. You can offer your pet owners the option to choose the clinician that they see, or they can do the first available. So I know a lot of our clinics like to offer that. Pet owners may prefer just to see one or two vets in clinic who already know their pet. And then what the system does is it basically checks with your practice management system to see what's available. So I'm going to book in for Monday at 11. That suits me. And then we just need to enter a few details here. So the information that's being collected here will feed back to your PIMS. If it's already a matched pet owner, it will show that. If it's a new pet owner, it will help create a new record for you. So again, taking away some of that manual load of having to complete the paperwork for new pet owners. You can capture a lot of information up front. I'm just going to drop that in here. And again, like you were saying, Amy, if there's those kind of issues around spelling, you know, it's the pet owner is putting that in here. So that's, you know, hopefully helping to mitigate a little bit of that. If you wanted them to share, if you want them to be available on any of your marketing lists, you've got that. But what I hear from a lot of our clinics is this previous vet details field is really helpful when it's a new client. It allows you to reach out to their previous vet clinic to get some information before they come into clinic. So we're not asking them to complete extra info when they come in for their appointment. I'm just going to put that in here. Obviously, we're going to get the consent as well. It's really important. Now, this is just a little bit of a longer workflow because I am a new pet owner, but I just wanted to show the fields that were customizable here. If you're a returning pet owner, you're not needing to fill this in. So you're pretty much in and out within a minute or so to book your appointment online. This is what now I have a pretty straightforward name. I'm sure you've got lots of Oscars in clinic, Amy, but that's one of ours. He is rescue. Color, if you want to put that in. Some clinics find it helpful for a new pet to have a little bit of information around their date. Their temperament might be helpful too. If you might need to juggle what other pets are in at the same time. If it's a dog that maybe is a little bit protective, you might be conscious of, where you might place them when they come into the waiting room. So that can be quite useful when the pet owner is new to the clinic. If they're up to date on vaccine, perhaps insured, it's helpful. Again, this is just to show you what is available, whatever you feel might help ease some of that admin lift for your team in clinic. Now I'm just going to put in, I'm coming in for a health check, but maybe my dog ate some chocolate. So just importantly, wanting to flag that it will let people know that if it's a potential emergency, we don't want them booking online. We do in this case, want them to call. We don't want them to wait until Monday to bring their dog in. So
And Claire, I have to say, I love that free text box there, that it's not just the initial drop down menu of I want a vaccination or it's an illness or something like that. That free text box, which has kind of very long limits for characters, has been a real savior for us sometimes when, depending on who has taken a phone call instead of taking an online booking and what that person is going to write in for what the pet is coming in for, if they've called the clinic instead, is going to be really paraphrased about what they heard and what they understood from that owner. But if an owner is using their own words, then we don't have any preconceived ideas going into the consultation about what to expect. And when the owner has to write that in, we find we get so much more detail. And it might be that if they rang up and they said, he's just been vomiting a bit, and then when they do the reason for appointment there, the equivalent to that might be he's been vomiting blood now for a day or something. So we get so much more information and really nice kind of just pure layman's terms information that we can enter the consult with an open mind. So I think that free text box is a really important part of that step as well.
That's great to hear. Thanks, Amy. Yeah, and absolutely capturing, like you said, that detailed information that that the pet owner is booking in for the right appointment too. We're well equipped to deal with the concern when they come in. Now, just different, it will then just book in your appointments. So there's no double handling. It's going to go directly into the PIMS. The pet owner will receive a confirmation email. So they've got everything there to hand, the time, who they've booked in for, who they're booked in with as well. If for whatever reason they can't make it and they need to reschedule, they can also do that through Vetstoria as well. So like we were saying, hopefully taking away the need for them to call, they can do it all online at any time that suits them. Right.
Follow-up emails have been a real blessing for us as well, in that if they've said it's a diarrhea illness type thing, then we might say in that email that, which is an automated email, that we'd like them to bring a sample, or if it's difficulty urinating, something like that, try to bring a sample, or if it's a limp, take a video of what they're doing. So we have a lameness consultation as a separate item that we can select from that drop-down menu, and that email goes out and says try to take a video of what they're doing so we can identify which leg and whether it's a limp or a neurological drag or something like that. So tailoring that little sort of follow-up message feels really personal and gives us an extra touch point to sort of almost start the diagnostics.
Yeah, absolutely. They're personalizing that sort of automated approach and gathering as much info. Yeah, fantastic. And we've got clinics who use it, I guess, in a way. If it's a new pet owner, they might tailor the message a little bit differently about looking forward to seeing them in clinic. Can you, make sure you arrive 5 minutes early? So being able to personalize, like you said, Amy, those email communications that go to the pet owner if they're new, returning, or just depending on what the appointment's for, is really useful. Fantastic. And I know, Amy, we've talked as we've gone through. I'm really enjoying the conversation. We've been talking, about some of the impacts that you've seen since you introducing Vetstoria, which was back in 2021. But are there any particular impacts that you're hearing from the team in clinic of how the introduction of Vetstoria has helped, I guess, reduce some of that stress for them, that sort of multitasking, and really sort of helping ease some of the juggle for them day to day?
Yeah, definitely. I actually asked the reception team this yesterday to sort of gauge what their reaction is, because I've got my own theories, but their faces just lit up and they just said, there's so many fewer phone calls. We have really good staff retention here, so we've got the same team on that was on prior to, and they were saying even the older generation of clients that we thought probably would still give us a call anyway, they've really come around to booking online, and also that first hour, probably even that first half hour when you open, particularly on a Monday morning or a day after a public holiday, that would usually be, do you have this available? Do you have this? We've waited all weekend to see if we could book in. That has just reduced that busyness in a huge way, because the people instead have just booked online. So they know
Yeah.
they're in for 10:30, or they know we've got absolutely nothing available, in which case they've either gone to emergency or they've gone to another clinic, which so that, the patient has been seen in a more appropriate time manner. So it's kind of like having someone here and being able to direct those calls when we're not here, which has been in the patient's best interest as well. They have less, I guess, when people can book euthanasia online, there's not trying to understand them through ugly crying
Yes.
and trying to navigate metaphors and things, if trying to establish, are you telling me that you want a quality of life check, or are you telling me that you are certain on euthanasia? So it really takes a lot of guessing out of it, I suppose. And the fact that it can happen in real time really just updates our schedule consistently throughout the day, so we kind of are always in the loop of what we can expect. Our walk-ins have just vastly decreased. So where people might just, waltz on in and say, have you got this available? That has noticeably decreased as well. So I think that has reduced stress across the whole team, because our clinicians know what to expect walking through the door as well.
Absolutely. It's great to hear. Thanks for that insight, Amy. Really appreciate it. And it's lovely to hear that your team's face lit up when you talked about Vetstoria. So we, we love hearing those stories. So, really pleased to see and to hear that impact that the introduction has had to the team, but also to your pet owners as well. Like you said, knowing that they can just jump online, they don't need to call and leave a message. They can go on and do their booking within a couple of minutes, which is great. So obviously, like, as we said, the introduction of technology isn't going to reduce all of the stress in clinic, but hopefully, adopting an online booking tool can help take away and alleviate some of those day-to-day pressures. We've talked to Amy about how it's reducing phone calls, and you've seen that significantly in clinic, which is great. We have a lot of clinics, and I'm sure you do as well, but they might have on their voicemail, on their hold, that jump online, you can book your appointment, just so your pet owners know. They might be calling at 7 in the morning. Oh, actually I can go online. Oh, fantastic, I'll go in and find the time, rather than wait for the clinic to open and for them to call me back, and potentially toing and froing with those missed calls. We also have, as you and your team, Amy, trialed the chat function that we just launched. So your pet owner, as well as booking online, can send a message directly through Vetstoria for the team to review. Obviously in a time that suits you. You can switch on and off, but that just allows that other option for your pet owners to communicate with you online, rather than having the need to make a phone call. The admin work, like you said as well, we do send out those reminders, so pet owners, hopefully we're seeing less of the no-shows. Pet owners know, oh yeah, actually it is tomorrow, I've got the reminder, great. I know where I need to be, I know the time. So just taking away a little bit of that, where clinics previously might have called up and said, oh, don't forget, you're coming in to see you're coming in to see us tomorrow. And as I said, none of that double handling. It's all going to go directly into the PIMS. You don't have to take the call, book in the appointment, find the patient, etc., etc.
One thing that one of the receptionists said yesterday was, one of the greatest things that's come from it is that when someone shows up for their appointment at the wrong time, or right time but the wrong day, a day too
Okay.
early or whatever, that previously we've obviously had no way of proving that we had it right, and now they will, an owner might come in and they've previously given quite a lot of grief about, well, I definitely said it was Tuesday. And now they just open their phone and they go, no, well, it's Tuesday. And they open it up. And, oh, no, I pressed Wednesday. Oh, yeah. So there is no disputing those sorts of things where the receptionist said previously they've certainly felt really quite targeted with that. And they felt a bit silly, even if they're 100% certain that they got it right. And there it is in black and white this way, which has really helped that the attitude just sort of changes when it's, oh no, it is user error at that end.
Absolutely. Yeah, it takes away some of the friction from that conversation, which would be never easy to have. But
Yeah.
having that reminder there, yeah. And I've been guilty of that, where I think I booked an appointment for a certain time and then I actually have gone in and then looked at the appointment and go, oh yeah, no, all on me. But yeah, it's just really nice for in clinic when you're having those conversations that you've got the reassurance of that digital communication as well. Yeah. And are you finding with new pet owners that are coming in, Amy, are you capturing a lot of information up front before they come into clinic through the likes of the new client form and the information that's coming through from the booking?
Yes, definitely. And those sorts of things, then we can transfer over to a welcome board that's just got welcome to our new patients today. We're confident on the spelling of those animals. And then we have a hard copy new client form still in clinic, but we have pre-filled out all of the things that we know about it. So often there's only two things at the bottom, which is kind of a, where did you hear about us? And what is it that you're looking for from your time at Petmania. So I think that probably looks quite impressive to them as well, that we've got everything pre-filled out rather than having to repeat yourself. You've said it once over the phone, you've spelt it, then you spelled it again, and then now you've been handed a form where it's written out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's never a great experience when you've already given the info and then you're given a ream of paperwork to fill in, asking for the same information. So yeah, absolutely makes that first impression and with the clinic a really smooth and positive one. So yeah, that sounds, I love your approach. It sounds like it's really welcoming for all your new pet owners when they come into the clinic.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so I'm just going to move now through to Q&A, just to allow a few minutes there for any questions that anyone who has joined us today might want to drop into the chat. We'll give it a minute or two. But feel free, if you don't have the time now, to drop in a question or to stay to the end of the webinar, to reach out to me on email or on LinkedIn, and we can connect there and go through any questions as they arise.
I think one of the things that's important to understand about Vetstoria is when you say that it is customizable. I assumed it would be something that we would lodge a ticket and you guys would customize for us, but there is such a huge amount of things that we can do ourselves. So if we have got someone off sick for the next week and we need to throw a locum into the mix, it is so easy to just log on there and then in real time upload a locum's name, their schedule. If we have, a price change or something, then we just change it there and then ourselves. So that has really surprised me in a good way about using the system, is that it's super user friendly and we can control so much about it in the day-to-day things. So, for a while during winter, we took having Pentazan injections off the list because we found that people hadn't been in the last 6 months and were just wanting to come in and sort of restart those without a consultation. Yeah. We managed our client education better for about 2 months and really got back on top of it, and then relaunched that in our own time. And that didn't require any sort of waiting around. We finished our team meeting about it. Yes, that was decided. And within 5 minutes that was back up online and people could use it again. So it's really dynamic and responsive, and we have a lot of control over what we can do with it just right here in our pockets.
Yeah, great. No, absolutely. And I think that's what was recognised right at the beginning of the journey for Vetstoria, that no one clinic is the same. You have you have different demographic of pet owners, how you interact with your clients might be different. So it really does allow a lot of that customization, like you said, Amy. So really glad to hear that that's working well for you in clinic. And as you know, we've got that 24/7 support team too. So So, you know, for those things where you just don't have the time to do it, or, you know, you've got any tech queries, that's where our tech team can come in and help with any questions that you might have, alongside the account management team too. So helping to support our clients on their journey with Vetstoria. Perfect. Well, it looks like we don't have any questions for now, Amy, but I guess just essentially I wanted to wrap up by thanking you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to share your insights with us, Amy. I know it's never easy to take time out of clinic when it's always such a busy space. So we know carving out the time to join us on the webinar was something we do really appreciate, and the insights that you've shared with us today have been really good to hear, and yeah, something that I know we can talk to with other clinics about who might be starting their journey and sort of help them as they start to use Vetstoria too. And hopefully
Thank you for having me.
Perfect. It was my pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining on today's webinar. As I said, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn to myself or Amy if you want to connect and talk anything Vetstoria wise, and look forward to keeping in touch. Thanks again, Amy.
Thanks.
Oops.